Good morning, fifth grade. Today we're pausing and taking a look at the American Revolution. We have several stops. Our first stop is the French and Indian War. And from the French and Indian War, Proclamation of 1763, Sugar Act, Stamp Act, Committees of Correspondence, Townshend Acts, Boston Massacre, the Tea Act, the Boston Tea Party, Coercive Acts, Intolerable Acts, First Continental Congress, Battles of Lexington and Concord, and then the American Revolution. Some of these we've already talked about, but we're going to go back and hit on them again, okay? I feel like this kind of ties everything in together and gives you a visual, which gives you a better understanding. So again, first stop is the French and Indian War, also known as the 7-Year War. Our objective: you will learn about the French and Indian War, the 7-Year War, and its significance to the American Revolution. Here I just want you to see the main two definitions. Revolution, the forceful overthrow of government by the people or any sudden grand change. And unite means coming together. The French and Indian War, you can see this is what the British, what they would have looked like, American Indians, what they looked like, and the French, what they looked like. The French and Indian War from 1754 to 1763. The French and Indian War is our first lesson, and it starts out in the Ohio Valley, which is right about here. The French and Indian War. England and France both had extensive land claims in North America. Both countries claimed the Ohio Valley territory as their own. In the 1750s, the French sent troops to occupy the Ohio Valley. They built several forts west of the Appalachians to show that they planned to remain in the Ohio Valley to protect their land. One of the most famous forts was called Fort Duquesne. A young George Washington, a colonel in the British Army, led 150 British militiamen to capture Fort Duquesne. Washington and his men were outnumbered and soon defeated by the French. The French sent Washington and his men back to the British commanders with a message that the Ohio Valley belonged to the French. The British didn't give up easily. They returned to Fort Duquesne with more troops. The British, as was their custom, marched in straight lines with much noise and fanfare. The French and their Indian allies hid behind the rocks and trees. They fired on the British troops from their hiding places. The British were again defeated. The British did have some assistance from Native American troops. However, this assistance was not enough to help them defeat the French right away. The British continued to fight the French, but mostly to the north and Canada. The French were finally defeated and signed the Treaty of Paris in 1763. In this treaty, the French surrendered all of their land claims in North America. All right, so you can see that all of the land west of the Appalachians was the Ohio River Valley. They were rich in resources. The British said it was theirs, and the French had a thriving fur trade there, and so the French was like, this is ours. And neither side wanted to do business with the other. And again, there were two forts. The French fort was Fort Duquesne, and the British fort was Fort Necessity. The French and Indian War activity plus sign foldable. If we were in class, we would be doing this as a foldable, and we would be cutting it out. You see the directions to cut it out. So it says cut out the entire foldable as one piece. Enter the questions. Fold the four outside pieces over the center piece. Glue the single square. We're not cutting it out. All I want you to do here is, I just want you to focus on these four parts here, and I want you to type in your answer. That's all you have to do on this page. And then on the next page, the primary source detectives. This is a woodcut by Benjamin Franklin, 1754. Join or die. Discuss and describe. It says write down what you and your partner noticed about this primary source. How do you think this primary source relates to the French and Indian War? Now, I know you don't have a partner because we're not in school, but you can call a classmate and you can talk about it, or you can just write down your observations. Same thing for step 2, 3, and 4. And that's it. Then you click submit. Have a good day, guys.